With a turbulent start to 2025, we had a nice big run followed by a nice big correction. And so the question is, where is the crypto market headed next? With a mixture of bullish and bearish news at any one time, it can be confusing to know where the markets are going next. And so, as always in this video, we'll be covering the latest price action and we'll see what has been going on and the key levels to watch. Then we'll see where are we in this current 4-year cycle and is this current crash finally now over? And then we'll finish with some of the biggest developments that have just happened and the fundamental outlook for 2025. Okay, so with all this recent crazy volatility, let's jump into the charts and see what is going on. Okay, so first point of call is, of course, the Bitcoin chart on the daily. And what do we see? Well, as mentioned in the intro, at the middle of December, we did get treated to this epic rally, taking us up, setting the high of 108,000. But then since then, it's pretty much been down. We did get treated to a nice little hopium rally here where we thought everything was going to come back, only to be given some January sales, marking potentially a double bottom here. So for me, this is looking very similar to a parallel channel. So it's been hit quite a lot here. And I'd say this is pretty much the trading range of what's going on now. Setting the new high, and then we keep hitting this line at around 91,000. Question is this the double bottom? Is this the reversal that's going to end this? Well, only time will tell. I think what's spooked the markets most recently is the DOJ giving the go-ahead for the US to sell a big chunk of its Bitcoin reserves. And the problem is Biden is doing everything he can to sabotage Trump, whether that be selling off the border wall for cents on the dollar, whether it's putting brand new bans in so he can't drill for oil, whether it's pardoning inmates on death row, to now potentially selling off the US's Bitcoin. He's pretty much doing everything he can to sabotage Trump. Now, the good news and bad news with this, obviously it's bad news in the short term. If this does end up happening, then we could get another flush out, sending prices lower. But then the good news is that it's only a matter of time until the market recovers, Trump gets in, and we go on to set new highs. Ultimately, I don't think nothing can stop this crypto train, but it can get derailed in the short term. And we have to remember, it wasn't that long ago that Bitcoin was down at 66,000. So even just at this point, November, it's seen a 40% move, then a 50% move, a 55% move, topping out at a 60% move. And this is just 6 weeks. How quickly we all forget of where prices were just November last year. So of course, there's also healthy consolidation that will happen after major moves as well. So for me, nothing unusual here. So key levels, well, this is your trading range here. So this 91,000 level needs to hold. And then on the flip side, it'd be breaking through the high of 108,000. So medium to long term, I think the trend is up, but in the short term, anything can happen in the markets. So in the December crash video and January crash video, we were discussing what was going on here. Just zooming out for a second, measured from the halving, we said about 240 days after the halving, there seems to be a noticeable correction in both of the previous cycles. And lo and behold, what do? We went straight into it, and almost on point, we went through this correction. So now zooming back in again, we've now just come under this 2017 cycle here. So for me, this is pretty much where it should be at this point in the cycle. It shouldn't be above 2017. It shouldn't be above 2021. 2021 shouldn't be above 2017. So anything can happen, but it's now coming back into where it should be. And if the market continues and begins to track under these cycles, then that is the sign that everything is still on track and probably what it should be doing. Now, my gut feeling is that we're going to get a right translated cycle, meaning it's probably going to play out the full 18 months after the halving. Now, a dead giveaway for a left translated cycle where things peak out early is exactly what happened here, 2021. If all of a sudden the market shoots above previous cycles, which is something it shouldn't do, then this is a dead giveaway that a lot of the returns are happening early. This is when the market peaked out early and which then crashed it back down. So this is what a left translated cycle looks like, and it looks like one of the main reasons was because of QE and liquidity had already started because of COVID. So the markets were pumping off this new money being printed, where right now QT is still going on. The Fed is still tightening, and this will be changing at any time. It literally could be January or February, and it's the change of liquidity that's then going to send things higher. So this says to me that we're looking at a right translated cycle. Things could just be playing out deeper into the year. So while everyone's freaking out right now about the latest drop, again, this just says to me, this is pretty much what happens at this point, and we're coming back into a more healthy level. Could we get a final flush with America selling its Bitcoin? We could. However, it's not going to change the medium to long term. Now, nothing much to say new on seasonality. Bitcoin is still reset back down to the start of the year, even after this so-called crash. And if we look at the previous post-halving years, the vast majority of gains came in the second half of the month. The first 10 days were extremely volatile. This saw a massive initial run, and actually in this month, the second half of the month, it came crashing back down to zero. And for Ethereum, all the gains pretty much came second half of the month, whether that's 2021 or 2017. There was a 30% correction in the first half of January in both of these post-halving years. So what's more important to me is what happens from the middle of the month to the end of the month. That's what I'm really paying attention to. As of right now, we're still just on day 10. We've still got another 3 weeks of January. So next week will probably mark the turn, and it's the last 2 weeks of January. Are we going to finish the month very strong? That is what's most important to me. Now, to finish up, instead of doing the biggest developments, as it's the very first one of the year, we're going to do an outlook for 2025. Now, in the short term, the markets can be irrational and be oversold, but it's the fundamentals that we really want to be looking at, because over time, fundamentals win. Now, the traditional financial world cannot ignore the fact that the Bitcoin ETF that was launched beginning of last year was the greatest launch in history. So this really has given a slap across the face to the traditional financial world that crypto is here to stay. That's the first point. Second is that we have to take a look at the different companies that have now put Bitcoin on the corporate balance sheet as a treasury reserve. So we all know Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy is number one. They've now got $42 billion worth of Bitcoin, 2% of the total supply, which is very impressive. But it's worthwhile to point out just how many companies are now following suit. it's not just several companies, including Tesla and Coinbase and the miners. Just check out how many companies have now put Bitcoin on the corporate balance sheet. There's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens, a lot of companies. So this was a huge trend for 2024, and this is only going to ramp up. Then, lest we forget that now countries and governments now own Bitcoin. So this is the US, currently number one, but as mentioned, let's see what Biden does to this as he continues to sabotage Trump. But China being number two, UK being number three, Ukraine clearly done something very smart there, Bhutan, El Salvador, Finland, Georgia, and the biggest flop coming most recently from Germany. Do you remember when Germany sold all their Bitcoin? So I think this is going to blow up in Germany's face 2025. And we also have private companies as well. So we've got a whole bunch of private companies owning Bitcoin as well. So this is a huge trend happening in the background. And then to finish on this slide, which was my last slide of 2024, but it's definitely worth revisiting, because how can you look at this and not be bullish for 2025? The biggest headwind for crypto has been regulation, especially in the US. And now in just 10 days, we're going to get a crypto president. We're going to have Republican House and Senate, a crypto chair, a crypto czar, a crypto treasury secretary, Trump looking to build the Bitcoin reserve. We are now moving into the last 9 months of the cycle. Even though there's not as many rate cuts happening as people would like, rates are still coming down. The only place liquidity can go is to start back up. Expect more ETFs. We have the massive mega companies recommending, and already this is having a knock-on effect across the world. We've seen Trudeau step down in Canada. The UK government is blowing up right now. We have Elon Musk pushing for the AfD to get elected in Germany. Times are swinging from socialism back to capitalism. And I think 2025 is going to be an excellent year. With a turbulent start to 2025, the question was, where are the markets headed next? Based on the 4-year cycle, I'd say that things are pretty much where they should be at this point, maybe even a little bit lower. Seasonality shows that although the first 10 days of January can be very turbulent, Bitcoin should still finish the month pretty good, and Ethereum should be even stronger. As of the latest developments, well, the traditional financial world could not have missed that the Bitcoin ETF was the greatest ETF launch in history. We've now got dozens of companies buying Bitcoin as a reserve asset, even nation states. And finally, historically, regulation has been crypto's biggest headwind. However, in 2025, it's going to be crypto's biggest tailwind. So there you are, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Now, as far as I can see, everything is still on track, but it'll be very interesting to see where everything finishes at the end of this month. Now, if you do have any burning questions, then simply use the comment section below. However, just remember, to get rid of 100% of the comment spam and trading bots that plague YouTube comments, we are trying out the new SuperThanks Commenting system. So to get your question or comment read and replied to, or just to say thanks, then use SuperThanks below. And for now, just to say, if you did enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like, and a big thank you to everyone who does, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.